welcome to another weekly update. Here I am. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had a good week. It's dark and dreary and miserable here in the UK at the moment, and it will be like that for a few months yet. We're in that kind of post-Christmas blues, and I'll be honest, I think Microsoft are in that post-Christmas blues as well. There's not a lot to talk about this week. Last week there kind of was, but I think that was really just a hangover. There's that kind of delay between things being done and them getting through the marketing cycle and out. So I think what we're seeing now is that kind of that dip that happens over Christmas and the holiday period. But that's okay. There's still a few things to talk about. And I think it's good for all of us as well, because it means that we get a couple of weeks just to gather our thoughts. 2023 was a huge year of announcements for all sorts of reasons. And so in some ways, it's quite good to have a little bit of breathing space, because you know that once that machine starts up again, and especially I think throughout this year, through 24, as Microsoft start really delivering and executing on some of the things they've promised in 23, because a lot of the Copilot announcements that we've been hearing about, some of them you can use today, but quite a lot of them are coming, and they're coming through 2024. So it's going to be another busy year, I think. Anyway, let's get into what's happening this week. And the first thing to tell you about is an update blog post from the Azure Communication Services Team. So, I like to follow the Azure Communication Services Team quite closely to see what they're doing. And they've got another monthly update blog post, which covers the stuff they've been doing in December. So let me show you that now. A couple of interesting things to talk about. A real focus this particular time on stats and diagnostics, which is smart, I think. So just an overview of what's been announced. There's a public preview of call diagnostics. So Azure Communication Services will gather a bunch of diagnostic information during the call. As a developer, you have access to that. But as you might be an IT person or even a developer troubleshooting a problem, you have access in Azure to a lot of data that gets gathered after the fact as well. So you can go back in time, is what I'm trying to say, and look at different calls and look at the relative quality and help troubleshoot particular calls, why a particular call was bad. And then there's some more real-time stuff that you can access in the JavaScript libraries around media quality stats, video constraints, so lots of focus in on call stat stuff, which I think is super smart. What tends to happen is, you have one bad call and it really can taint the experience, and that is super important to be on top of why calls go bad, and giving developers and IT investigators, admins, support staff, anybody who is looking at these poor calls on behalf of the customer, giving them the tools that they really need to dig into why the call is bad and what you can do about it is super important. Because yes, a lot of the time we know this, it's probably something on the customer side. It's probably their Wi-Fi. It's probably their device. You need to know that. You need to own it. You need to understand where it's not and do something about it. And where it is, it's part of education. One of the things I really like about Azure Communication Services is it gives you that information in real time. So you can tell the customer, and this is down to you, because Azure Communication Services is in a large part about you creating your own user interface experiences for the customer around video delivery. That's on you to help educate the customer. So Microsoft are giving you the tooling to help you, give you the data that allows you to educate your users. And I think that's nice and that's smart. Okay. Something else to talk about? How in Fluid Framework, we talked about it quite a bit last year. It kind of came to light, early last year, I think, because it came into Microsoft Teams as the kind of platform that you used for live share. It was that SDK. If you remember, Microsoft Teams live share in meetings allow you to kind of very in real time share data to enable very collaborative experiences in Microsoft Teams. That was all backed with Fluid Framework. Microsoft Loop is all backed with Fluid Framework. Microsoft Whiteboard is now all backed with Fluid Framework. And there's a couple of other things as well. And they have a new version that is in beta that you can use if you are a developer that wants to get into this space, or you're already using Fluid Framework for other things, or if you're not and you're like, I need to create some kind of real-time messaging platform thing for my codes to work in real time, and maybe maybe it's multiple pointers on the same like display. Maybe it's trading data in real time. All sorts of things. That kind of very low latency, small data transfer stuff. Fluid Framework is very good for that. And so don't build it yourself is what I'm trying to say. Go and have a look at Fluid Framework because it's really coming along, and yeah, it's really good. It's a schematized data model. It's key value based. It's exactly what you think it is. It abstracts the really hard part of doing all the transport. And so it makes it nice and easy to just kind of get going with this stuff. You can kind of see this is a good blog post actually, because it covers not only what it's for, but how it fits into the stack, and then what you can do to go and get it. So it's a nice long blog post. It's not like a kind of couple of paragraphs. We've got a new version. Here's what's new. Goodbye. It really digs into like why Fluid Framework is important, where it fits in your stack, what you'd use it for, and then what Microsoft are using it for, which is interesting. It also has support now for SharePoint embedded, which is cool. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. It was the thing that was announced at ESPC 23 in November, which allows you to build your entire application kind of within or using SharePoint embedded, sort of using Microsoft 365 tech. The data lives inside your Microsoft 365 tenant. The code runs kind of on that platform. So it's a nice, not to get completely off tangent, SharePoint embedded is a nice place for enterprises to build data, and Fluid Framework works well with that too. So lots of good reasons to go and use Fluid Framework. Like I say, Microsoft are using it today in a number of different places. They've got partners using it as well in a couple of different places, and there's a nice list of links at the bottom to getting started if you want to go and try it out for yourself. So that's Fluid Framework. Yeah, that's kind of interesting to see. Definitely worth keeping an eye on that one. I think it's only going to become more and more important as you can kind of see this world where we've got live share on the screen displaying and keeping up to date with what's happening, but you're using Copilot more and more as your method inputs and kind of control plane, if you like. So those two things together, really, really interesting. And so it'd be interesting to see how people put these things together. Microsoft 365 Admin Monthly Digest. So this is for IT admins, particularly at the moment, IT admins who are feeling slightly wrong-footed by all the Copilot stuff and are wondering kind of what to do, where they fit in, what they should, what steps they should be taking in early 2024 to kind of get ready for the Copilot stuff, to stay on top of the Copilot stuff, to help their organizations be ready for the Copilot stuff. This is a blog post for you. Go and read this Admin Digest because it's a nice summary of what's going on right now. It starts with a call to an AMA on Copilot. So that is happening in 2 days' time on January the 17th. It's going to be focused on Copilot for Microsoft 365. It's a full-on AMA. So if you've got questions, go there, turn up, they've got answers. So that's the first thing that is worth kind of calling out. So if you're unsure about anything in Copilot for the Microsoft 365, yes, tell them what you think for sure. But also, show up with your questions. Also, Copilot onboarding resources. So yeah, this is where you need to start paying attention to as Microsoft are rolling out some of this Copilot stuff. They're calling out the highlights. They're starting to drip out resources and information about what's going on. As well as kind of giving you information about pricing. They're reminding you that in December, Copilot for 365 will be available for A3 and A5. Again, that 300 seat minimum per tenant. So education announcements there. And then a link to their Copilot adoption site as well, which has got email templates, email campaign template stuff, some other bits and pieces as well. So this is a good digest if you just want to catch up. If you kind of missed out on the end of 2023 because it was all a bit, there's an awful lot of stuff going on, and you now just want to kind of reset a little bit in 2024. One of your New Year's resolutions maybe is to kind of keep up to date with all the Copilot stuff. This is a good place to start, just to level set. All right, that's enough from me. I've been talking for far too long, so I will wish you a very good rest of the week, and I will speak to you again next time.